It's time for Defenders of the Cross. Today we discuss the success of the Maximina event. The different styles of the Dungeon Masters will help you pick who is your go-to DM. The reactivation of the storyline and the future of the past. It's all coming up next. Defenders of the Cross Episode 44, recorded Sunday, March 22nd, 2022. No more zombie glitch.
Pero antes, si este video es de utilidad para usted, presione like. Le invitamos a suscribirse y presionar la campanita. Así podrá enterarse de los nuevos videos que lanzaremos próximamente.
Now, on to the show.
Hello,
Right.
everyone. We're coming at you live from Charlene's Tavern, Wine Shop, or whatever it is in Canyon City. That's basically the end news. There's a lot more stuff that we did incorporate in, and we're coming out and we're being added to the different stories. Of more of the stuff that you guys did, additions to several other things that one has planned based on the actions that you took in the events. We're gonna be talking today about a few specific topics. One of those being permakill, monster scaling. We're gonna talk about the SMPCs and these, how changes we have made in mobbing, and changes we are gonna make in our personal mobbing styles for each one of us, as well as how we're gonna be mobbing large battles and stuff like that. And we're also gonna pick someone at random from the people that are in the Canyon City and the people that are listening to us here, to give them a special reward for just attending and supporting the OTC. So stay tuned. And we'll start with our first topic for today, which would be monster scaling. Something very hard to explain. It's taken us a lot of time to try to properly explain.
Explaining it has led to more questions, and more questions have led to more confusing explanations. In essence, I'm gonna try to explain it in the most accurate way that we have found to put it into words. During the life cycle of the Maximina event, we replaced the old adaptation system, and we, in turn, put what we're calling scaling. What scaling does is it removes the extra levels that were used before to increase the monster's, power, to make it more difficult, and it instead makes the monster more flexible, allowing it to fight and adjust in many ways that it did not have a chance to do before. Similar to how players were able to tell how much stronger a monster was in the past with the target info command, players can now see a field called scaled percentage when they use the target info, and the number that they see in that field when they're looking at the monster is how big and dramatic the change of the damage that the monster deals and the damage that it takes is. The best part of the change is that it is constantly adjusting at all times throughout a fight. So it is adjusting to every player individually amidst the middle of combat while you are all fighting. That in what's the term that I'm supposed to use here? In layman's terms means that the monster that is a higher level can fight a lower level, or a monster that is a lower level can fight a higher level without making the battle harder, without needing to add more monsters, or without having to change numbers that just become ridiculous and the monster is able to one-shot a player. It takes the fight and it basically makes it the same fight for everyone across the board. It's important to understand and remember that the changes only apply to monsters that a DM has scaled, so it doesn't affect map spawns. It doesn't affect monsters that a monster summons. But it does affect, and this is a nice bonus, it does affect the summons that players themselves bring out, allowing players to summon creatures or 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 what's the word? Mercenaries, fire guns, elementals, all those other things that players have in their arsenal. Summons them with scaling percentage that equalizes with how strong the player themselves is. Essentially, the goal of scaling is to make it so that everybody can fight together regardless of your level, and so that you can all play, have fun, and be in the same missions without having to worry about the things that we put there are.
It makes it challenging for a higher level fighting lower level monsters, and it makes it easier for a lower level fighting higher level monsters because it's always changing. Because of the addition of scaling, we also have to make some adjustments, and some of the mini games like fishing, digging, and harvesting will might the automated prompts that are usually around that everyone sees are going to have to be modified. That some of them might will definitely get removed because now us working as DMs, us working as us mobbing, us working on all that, we can we can put sorry, we can establish, we can put the spots for harvesting, we can put the spots for fishing, we can put the spots for digging, and we don't need to have them on all the time, saving the resources so that this monster scaling can continue functioning constantly during the battles. Um, which is one of the biggest change that we did throughout the Maximina event, and there were lots of people involved, lots of players testing it out, lots of players watching it all happen. So all those things were great ways for us to test this and see this in live action, live moving around. And I definitely, because of it, I think that eventually we might, someday we'll definitely think about doing another Maximina event to have more moments where we can actually test this out for a month and see things working out, and before we make any super drastic change. And I really enjoyed that. A few of the other things that have has changed. One of the biggest ones that has changed is permakill and injury. When I'm talking about permakill, I'm referring mostly to critical injury. Uh, it has been changed in DLTC. How it functions is going to be very different to how it used to. Permakill has become automated, which means it's not gonna be the mob controlling it like it used to be. It's not gonna be me or Ghoulie or Jay controlling it. It's coded into the server, and the way it works, to help you out, is it will work. It's coded into the server, and it has the different IDs of the different monsters that can permakill. For example, some raid bosses, some kings, some dragons, some behemoths, some manticores, asteroids, griffins, so and so on. So on and on. Those creatures that you have already known that can permakill will be able to permakill, and they will always have it on. So when fighting them in any scenario, there's always going to be a risk of getting critically injured. Now, the way the critically injured will critically injure is you fight, you go down, it's gonna throw a dice, it's gonna throw a dice, and that dice, if you get the number based on your survivability chance and all that, once it throws the dice, it says it died, the person didn't die, and then puts you in a critical state. The automated system will do that. It'll put you straight into the critical state. And once it puts you into this critically injured, people can still just critically injured will still remain the same as it was before. This time around, it's it's us to the DMs to take those 3 days to help you guys establish if you're gonna save the person, if you're gonna go and end them, whatever you're gonna try to do. It's 3 days. The person gets critically injured, just like before. He has 3 days to rescue him, save him, or find what you need to get him up, or 3 days to end him and stop other people from saving him. And we DMs are gonna be role playing with you, being the ones in the faction talking with you, being the ones that handle any mission that is save the body. Let's say somebody got critically injured in Orlo, and they need to move the body from there to the other side. But the DM has to. We DMs have to do that part of moving him to the faction, and then you guys need to collect materials for Get It to help him out. We'll be doing that. Or Pirate wants to go and as an example. Or someone else wants to go and interfere with that helping of the player. Well, they can do so, and we DMs are the ones who are gonna doing those scenarios to help. Now, that was talking about mostly about how it's gonna be with creatures. When talking about how it's gonna be with players and storyline non-player characters that can permakill or critically injured, it will work similarly to monsters. The difference is that SNPCs, Ds, and players will have the permissions to critically injure. In the case of SNPCs and Ds, those will always be enabled because we are the ones who move them around. But in the case of players like yourselves, we, the DMs, will be the ones to enable and disable the permission. You know, it's a way for us to, hey, we're not gonna leave you enabled with this permission while there's no DM around doing anything. We need to disable it so that someone does not randomly kill someone accidentally outside of gameplay, so that someone doesn't unjustly do critical injuries to other people. So we need to control the on and off switch of you perma killing or not when it comes to player. All the permakill is gonna be doing, unlike before. Before, if you guys remember, you get permakill, and if there's no way for you to get it back out, then you just die instantly. Well, now it's not gonna be as punishing, because now there'll always be that going to critical state, and there's always gonna be those 3 days. There will always be those 3 days in which you can be saved. So in case you're running around in the sands of Orlo and you get caught by lightning, there's 3 days where the DM will be working on finding the body, maybe finding you dehydrated somewhere in a corner, mortally wounded, and people need to help you. And can they help you? They would have to do that. Their body would not be ripped apart into pieces like it used to. So once you go into critically injured, it's up to the other players working with the DM to save you, or in other cases, which has happened, players working with the DM to finish you off. The regular injury is going to be carried out by the game moderators. One thing you should always know and make sure that we continue to one thing that you should always know, and we need to continue keeping in mind when talking to you about going into a mission where you can get injured. One thing we as game moderators must always do is find a way to inform you of that you could get injured. So there's injury involved here. Some of us will do it by phrasing, some of us will do it by expressing the gravity of battles coming into play, and some of us will literally say the word injured in our conversations. That's how I would do it. Some of us like to use the word it's dangerous, and then lethal. Lethal means you can get killed. Dangerous meaning you can get injured. So it's us up to us to give you the clue. Hey, you could get injured, so that you know that it might happen, and you'll once you're going around, you know it can happen. The other thing that will happen in the case of critically injured, because now there's so many ways for you to help each other out. The critically injured will also eliminate one item, just like the injury. Before you would get critically, you would keep everything. But now you would lose one item, just like the regular injury. You get crit, you lose an item, people save you, you're alive, but you still lost an item. And that's to balance it out. Yeah, I think that's the important things about talking about injury. When there's a chance of you being killed, well, I already told you a few of the creatures that are the ones that can kill you, so you'll know which ones those are. And we're keeping the same roster as always. Demon rank 3 can perma, rank 4 or higher can perma. Dragons, all those same creatures can perma, and players that can perma will depend on their storylines, if they're literally someone who dedicates themselves to that or not, and will be controlling the on and off switch on players, so you don't get randomly perma killed by a character while you're grinding in the OTV. Yeah, and that's what I got on permakill. I wanted you guys to know, have it in mind. We have another topic, which is how we're gonna be running SNPCs and Ds and demons. Guli, would you like to go first on that?
Yeah, no problem. So I will be working with SNPCs, be it demon or non-demon. I will primarily be working with NPCs that have to do with campaigns I've designed, or that are specific components of things that I have been doing, or I have either already designed or I am going to design. That's mostly because there is a lot of things that are already going on, as you are all well aware, with the main story and everything. So I am going to start with specific groups that I have designed and go from there. But I am not against using like more main storyline SNPCs, demons, and things like that. So expect me to mostly be using SNPCs tied to my things at first, and then spread out as time goes along. One thing I will be doing, if it's, for example, I'm running around as a demon that has a specific objective, and I am not the only DM that will be doing this, we'll typically announce in some way, shape, or form that we're out and about with a demon, and that's the time to hunt them down. And I will be running around trying to achieve whatever it is I'm trying to achieve. And you find me and beat me, we all know what happens from there. We are implementing a lifespan system like they had before. I believe all of us will be using the same system. Andrew can expand upon it more when it's his turn. But basically, we have lots of extra. I mean, as you guys are all aware, when you're fighting demons, they have way more HP than a regular player. But when they go down, they go down. That's your time to like seal them or kill them if it's not like a demonic entity. So, as we are running around doing whatever we are doing, if we get away, like if we successfully escape you, but let's say you guys did do damage, we are going to record and retain all the damage you guys did to us, so that next time we fight, we're lower in HP, and that's how over several battles, if it's, for example, a tougher enemy, you can wear them down until ultimately you defeat them. And that's how we'll be doing that, which is not too different from how it ran before. but just wanted to be, open about what we're going to be doing. And that's pretty much it for me when it comes to SNPCs and demons. But I'll pass it now to JJ if he wants to add a little bit onto that.
So, my take on running SNPCs and running demons. I'll keep it short for simplicity. No. I don't intend to be running SNPCs or any demons if it does not have to do with a direct tie-in with the story that I'm running. However, if I do have one present, it'll be specifically due to the objectives or to the transition that I am taking part in, and it will follow the same mechanics and restrictions that will be set in stone by Andy later on.
Master Eyes. It's Master Eyes here.
Master Eyes.
There we go. Thank you.
Because he likes to see everything. But overall, if I am running a session and somebody decides to look for an SNPC or a demon entity from my session, it will be transferred over to another DM. That is the simple explanation as to how I will be managing.
Okay, I categorize SNPCs or as they are officially titled, storyline non-player characters. I separate them. I categorize them between their uses and what I'm gonna be using them for, or what I'm gonna use them as. First of all, we start with NPCs like the guides that I use mostly for sharing past information to the players, handing out smaller missions possibly. I plan to continue the guides to do the same thing as they were doing before. You talk to them, they maybe make a few jokes if I can think of good jokes, because I'm not the best one for those, but possibly I'll try. Maybe I'll look around some Google jokes and use that. Anyway, they'll be around to give information from the past, from those guides' experience and their own things. And I will also use them to give small missions. If I had a small mission that I have to hand out, like eliminating of some creature that I'm building up for something else, I'll probably give that small mission around so that's known to players, so they know there's something around there so they can deal with it, or clues of, hey, there's some activity of these somewhere else over here, and you'll go like, oh, I'm gonna start an investigation to do that, figure it out, stuff like that, simple things like that. That is what I'm gonna be using the guides for. I do have to keep in mind that the guides have their own personalities and goals of what they want to do, and I have to maintain using them, the little moments I do with that personality, that trait, which is a bit of a hard thing for me to do. We also would like to include the number 1 reputation player in the Maximina event. He has been included into the guides. So now Santos will be around as a guide, and he will be the one that has the information of things that your characters did in the past, or stuff like that. He won't have everything. He won't have the things that we're going to use for storyline, but he'll have a lot of the information that you might want to know or want to hear about, like the situation of the past nobles that happened and all those things. Now, that's the guides. That's one of the categories I have, the guides. The other category I have and I'm using is basically the storyline oriented SNPCs, which those are the SNPCs that are focused only on the storyline that they have to do. Example of such SNPCs are the Orleans. Example of such SNPCs are the visitors that people saw a while back. I plan to continue using them straight to their purpose. Hey, my purpose is to protect this city and keep it safe. I'm gonna always be using that character, that SNPC that way. It will always continue keeping the area safe. It'll always maintain its position of doing what it's supposed to do. And that's what I'm gonna do with those type of NPCs. It's continue pursuing their intended purpose. They will also have, just like every other SNPC, they're gonna have the lifespan thing we have added in that allows us to handle things like that. Which means that if you have to fight an SNPC, human SNPC, if you have to fight an SNPC, one of these, they'll work with lifespan as well. So you lower. Once they get to 0, they die. And those NPCs will continue the purpose until they reach 0 or they complete their purpose. Once the SNPC has reached 0 or completed their purpose, they will either die or retire, and that's where that NPC ends. So their purpose is this. I'm gonna use it for their purpose. Once it's done, it's done. If it never makes it because he got killed by someone, they got killed by someone. That's it. And the third category that I use for SNPCs and Ds is obviously the one that I'm gonna be using for demons, which is similar to the previous one, except these are the entities that are doing dark things on purpose. Each one of them has their purpose, and I need to continue their story and their purpose. A lot of the Ds already had something that they were trying to do. Samedi was doing something. Everyone knows Letron is over there doing something. Everyone knows about the one in the barge. You know, those Ds, not everyone, some people don't know, but those are examples. Those Ds were already carrying out certain stories, and I'm going to continue those certain stories. And I'm going to be pushing onwards to completing their purpose, their dark purpose. Now, doing that, when I use a D, I will always announce that I'm moving a D around. I'm going to say, hey, I'm using a demon today. I'm not going to tell you where it is. I'm not going to tell you what they're doing. I'm not going to tell you nothing else except I'm using a D today. And of course I'm going to say it to I'm going to try to use the Ds that you guys can reach. Not those that you can't reach, like Letron, who you guys have to spend forever to get to. But the Ds that I'm going to be using them. I'm not going to tell you where or what they're doing. And it's up to you guys to find, hunt, and stop it before it completes the purpose it's going to do at that moment. So that's basically how demon hunting is going to become. It's going to become, hey, I'm in a D, find me, and good luck. And you stop me, you stop me, you don't stop me, you don't stop me, and the story continues. A little bit on the lifespan for you guys to understand a little bit more on how it works. It's gonna be working on SNPC. It's gonna be working on these, and what it does is we give it a specific HP value, and that with each combat encounter that you have, you're lowering that HP value. When that HP value lowers after each encounter, every battle we have or whatever you do, I need to save that HP value, and that becomes its full HP value. Once that becomes its HP value, then you guys continue knocking down that HP value. You fought it once or twice, it's still alive, it escapes, but the HP value of the moment it escapes is the HP value it's gonna keep until you take it all the way down to 0. Once you take it down to 0, it goes down and you can kill it and you can seal it. Rank 1s, when it comes to these, rank 1s have a lower HP value, way lower HP values than rank 2. Rank 2 has a certain HP value, and rank 3s have a bigger HP value. A lot of the people who did campaigns with me during the event, they fought things like Chaos Knight, they fought things like Liver Cross, and in fighting those things, that's how I was running the rank ones. I mean, that's how I was running the HP value. I was doing it that same way. The ones who fought Argent, I believe as well. Also, that was running with the HP value, and it was getting attack hit until once it goes down, I stay down, and you take me. What happens happens there. So that's basically how lifespan works. Has a large HP pool. Every encounter you lower it. After every encounter, that number that it was left with, it's going to be what it's going to stay as its max HP. Once you encounter it again, you lower it once more, and the same thing, the process repeats. And when it gets to 0, you take it down, and it's out. Yeah. So now you understand lifespan. I hope you understand lifespan, and I have no problem answering questions later.
If they don't, yeah, the questions will come.
Yeah. So one thing that we did in the Maximina event that we explored a lot was having large battles. How will we handle mobbing large battles? Is the next topic we're going to talk about. Guli, do you want to talk about it?
Yep. Alright, so as many of you who participated in the Maximina event saw, there were sometimes battles or events that were of a larger scale. I wouldn't, not all of them were battles necessarily, but for example, multiple DMs were available or present to help with different sides of the event. So for these large battles, we, for example, would have one DM on the attacking side and one DM on the defensive side. And while the players were doing everything they were doing, the DMs were controlling their allied NPCs and responding to whatever they did, and the other DM was controlling the attacking forces and how they were trying to do whatever they could to win, you know, going down warpath, trying to do flanking maneuvers or whatever the battle would entail that they were able to do. There will be times in the present storyline where more than one DM can participate in an event, and it'll be done in a similar fashion. But each event or each battle can be different depending on the game moderator that's running it. Some battles may require multiple GMs to be present, either for running multiple sides of the conflict or just for player assistance or player interaction. It'll be up to the discretion of the GM if they want additional help or not, because sometimes it's well within the GM's capacity and they're like, I don't need you guys here. If you're doing something else, you don't need to be here. Or another GM could just be watching, just on standby for things like prompts, progression. So different events will have different levels of involvement for one GM or more. We had moments in the Maximina event where a moderator would carry a battle alone, where, for example, they are able to run the whole thing themselves, but that doesn't give them time to give players things like dice rolls, like impressions, progressions, and things like that. So sometimes, even though there's one GM that can fully run the whole combat part of the event, there's one observing for people's progression prompts and similar things. Something that can also happen is if another game moderator has troops nearby that can assist because of something that they are doing either as part of their campaigns or with another player, the game moderator who placed them there, if it's valid for those troops to be used as like impromptu reinforcements for the players that are defending, they can absolutely get involved at that point. Now, when a game moderator steps in to do this or aids in any way to the game moderator that's currently running that event, they must recognize the campaign running game moderator as the main GM for that session. The main GM is still the shot caller and the one that decides whether something is allowed to or not for that scenario. So there are GMs assisting, yes, but the one in charge or the main one running it is whoever's campaign that belongs. The majority of big battles, we have observed that they will likely have at least 2 or more DMs present. Like we said, 1 on the attacking side, 1 on the defensive, and if there is a third one, they'll be the one running around doing either supports, side objectives, player actions, dice rolls, all that stuff. When it comes to a large enemy force attacking like a settlement, there will always be at least 2 DMs present. 1 being attacking, 1 defending. And overall, there can be more than 2 DMs in battles, events, and all that sort of stuff. It's just to make everything run smoother. And if the other DMs are available and are not actively running something, they're with the permission of the main GM, they're just gonna hop in and help things run smoother. So we did that a lot during Maximina event, and we've kind of gotten into our own groove with it.
Our own PvP.
Well,
DM
one thing that has happened one thing that has happened that was very annoying when we were mobbing at the same time, all 3 of us in a battle, is when I try to move troops and suddenly my troops start following Guli or start following JJ. That was such a mess for me, because then I would lose my troops. They start following the other GM, and the other GM needs to reset so that I can get them back, and then my troops start going the whole opposite way of where I was trying to get them to, and I've lost a few troops like that. And one situation that was very JJ, the gorge fight where you got there and I already had El Sabator's troops there.
You mean the battle where I thought I had the upper hand, and the moment I look at the field, I panicked?
Yeah.
Oh,
that was
funny.
Those are the kind of situations that happen.
I am going to race this town to the ground. Why are there so many people here?
Because what happened there was somebody else was doing a campaign, and the campaign that they were doing, they established defensive forces inside Gorge, and because they had established defensive forces inside Gorge, once they had established once they had already established defensive forces inside Gorge, when Jay started trying to come in and push in and conquer the area, I was on the defensive side, and I decided to, hey, my troops are there already because they were here, because somebody else brought them here already, so I'm gonna use these troops to fight back as well. And JJ came with a clear intention of just taking Gorge Town completely out of the map. Met with a very strong force right there that he did not know was there, but that he allowed me to use, because once again he was the main GM in that situation. So he said, "Yeah, go ahead, use them." And I went like, "I'm using them." That was one of those situations that we had. That's important for you guys to know. We do intend to start making more PvP content in which, the player has decided he's going to be a dueler of other defenders. He's always dueling defenders. He's always going into battles with PvPs and stuff, which is awesome. And we have asked multiple people how their input in this. A lot of it has not been helpful, but that's some of the stuff that we are definitely doing, and it's something that has always been in DOTC, but people don't take a lot of advantage of this. So we're gonna work on having storylines for that, for people who really want to dedicate themselves to that specifically. There's also gonna be there's always been situations of confrontation between players discussing and turning violent. We have to keep those in mind because there are moments where it happens. One thing that we will do, that we need you guys to understand, if I'm going to use a D, and I'm telling this because this is something that I saw during the event. There was a moment where I was gonna attack with Chaos Knight, one of the SNPCs, at Gorge, and when I was going to attack at Gorge, I came with the SNPC ready to fight, and I saw that the map was not PvP. I need, as a DM, to understand myself, and the other DMs will also have to do this, is make sure that I, Master Eyes, am aware that you're gonna do something PvP in a city or somewhere like that with 1 month of anticipation. I need to know 1 month before that you intend to someday during the next month hit that area, so that I can work on putting the PvP in the main city of the map, so that you can do it without a problem. That is something that I need to know, and that is something that we DMs need to already have claro. If Samedi is going to be destroying capital city, or gonna try for a certain amount of time do that, by the 15th I have to know it so I can make that map PvP, so that somebody can right after go in there and do what it's doing.
Which it should be stated that the same thing applies to players looking to start large-scale conflicts.
If a conflict is that's not what I was trying to get at. I'm just saying that I need to turn maps PvP one before the 15th, so that I can have people fight calmly in those areas. If not, they're fighting without PvP, and people who use normal attacks will never be able to do anything. People who use skills will have to be constantly shouting, "Hey, let's PvP," and I'm not gonna do that. That's a lot of effort from our part. So it's better than that they know, hey, we're gonna try to conquer this map. I'm gonna use somebody to conquer this map, so I need that area PvP. And that's how I'm gonna do it, and there's no changing that one. We also, each one of us has a different personal mobbing style, and we have made changes to our personal mobbing style, which we will continue to change a little bit, a few things. I'm personally going to talk to you guys about a few things that I have decided to use and what I'm going to be using. And here is what I'm going to be using. One, I am going to narrate, and if I'm narrating to a person specifically, I'm gonna send it to them personally. They're gonna see it. Hey, narration, in a whisper narration, and that narration is what they'll see, and they'll read it. So if I'm gonna be narrating for a specific person, I'm gonna send it to them personally. But if I'm gonna narrate to the group that's there, I'm not gonna go one by one to narrate for them. I'm just gonna put it in between parentheses and write it in the normal chat, in the old chat. Hey, you see this? This is happening. Here lies a weapon stabbed on the stone. It seems like someone tried to pull it out, but they were unable to. That's one of the first things I'm gonna change in how I'm doing narrations. Some of the people who were in the event already saw this happen, and some of them liked it, some of them did not, but everyone has their own way of looking at it. I'm going to be doing that. The second thing is, I can't see whispers, party chat, clan chat, none of those things, so don't expect those things to be used in any way by me. I'm going to be using, if you're going to whisper to each other, I'm going to be using the community chats. Those people who have seen the community chats or used the community chats, they're there, they're working, and we never use them. You guys never use them, we never use them. Well, let's use them. So I'm going to be using the community chat for if you're gonna be doing a mission, you're gonna whisper to each other. I'm gonna be using that for that. And you wanna speak to yourself like in your mind, or you're gonna be thinking to yourself. We can use the community chat. There's no problem with that. You wanna use the communication device that people have used. We're gonna use the community chat for the comms, so you can talk to each other. Hi, I'm gonna create the room. I'm gonna give you the password. You're gonna go in there and you're gonna write to each other. I'm gonna be reading it, and if I need to explain it, well, I'll explain it a little bit more right before you go in there. But I will not use asterisk, whisper, asterisk, hey, you see this? No, I'm not gonna do that. If it's in the chat, you're saying it, you're speaking it loudly. You're speaking it so that people around you are around and hear it. I'm gonna be using the community chat. What else? Oh yeah. I'm the narrator, not you guys, and I understand you guys want to say what you're gonna do and stuff. I do read the trade chat. I am not against reading the trade chat. If you want to tell me something out game using the trade chat, do it. That's awesome. I will do it. I will see the trade chat. If you're gonna tell me, hey, can I try this? I'm gonna read the trade chat. I'm gonna tell you no, or I'm gonna tell you yes. I'm gonna roll, and yeah, you can try that. There's no problem. I am going to see the trade chat, but do not write parentheses. I walk towards the. No, I don't. No, I'm the narrator, not you guys. I'm the narrator. I can literally see you walking. Why do you need to tell me you're walking that way? Another situation that happened that I will talk about, because it did happen. You see a door, it's a door. Unless I tell you it's not a door, it's not a door. Work with what you see. I'm trying to make one of the cool things I make. Oh, by the way, this update I did a cool thing, which was I made fire. So now when something's on our fire, there will be fire for you to see and deal with. So there will be fire. So you'll see it. I don't have to explain it. You're gonna see it, and I'm gonna try to do a few other things that are working the same way, so you can visually see things without me having to tell you it's on fire, tell you this, and tell you that. And I'm gonna be working very visually. Let's see what else. Yeah, stealth missions. I did a lot of stealth missions with people. I did like 4 stealth situations, people following other people, people getting information. I had fun with it. I enjoyed doing it. And the way I am doing it is I'm working with sound. So if I hear you, I hear you. I'm working with visuals. I'm gonna be visually looking at the direction that the creature is looking at or the NPC is looking at. And if I don't see you, I'll keep moving, and you'll be able to sneak around. And once again, which is why I tell you, don't write asterisk, whisper, asterisk. I'm gonna be looking at what's being written. And if you say something written, I'm gonna be looking at it. I see you, I spot you, I'll act on you. So those are some of the things that I have refined for myself in doing. And I also did a few things where I went around. What was I gonna say? Yeah, there's also been a few moments where what was I gonna say?
Distracted by the little fire in the studio for a second.
Yeah, they put a fire there.
You're welcome. It's a little bit of a showcase.
Yeah, completely drew me off.
Let there be fire.
As NPCs, I said how I'm gonna use them. I talked about that. Okay, somebody else go. I'll remember and I'll say it later.
First of all, I'd just like to say you do realize you gave me fire.
Yes.
I'm just letting you know you realize you gave me fire now. So many things can go wrong.
I can talk next about so the specific thing for me as ADM is that I have limited time, so I try to organize everything I do. Like my big campaigns, I like to split them into like smaller individual quests that I'll work towards like a bigger final goal, because it's not as easy for me all days to be able to be there for multiple hours at a time. I'll get like 2 to 3 hours. So I'm trying to make more pocket missions, if you catch my drift. So that's the big thing about me. There are obviously days I have off that I can do longer sessions and things like that. But yeah, another thing is that kind of like right now, my style is to be very upfront and open in communications with players. And I have my main means of communication, which is similar to Master Eyes, where in game, my main means of communications are say chats and shouts if needed. I don't ignore trade chat. I can read it. I don't necessarily like to interact in it because I do not consider it to be in game or canon. Um, so because of that, you could use trade chat if you're not in voice chat with me, for example, and you're trying to tell me what you're thinking about it or what you're wanting to do. But I will often remind people that I require an actual in character, in game confirmation of, is this what you're doing? Yes or no. As I like to be very clear and explicit about that. And I like to tell people that because I know sometimes, myself included, we get caught up in the moment and say, yeah, we're going to do this. And then we realize that our character's been standing there for 5 minutes and they haven't said anything. So that's something I always try to be like, hey, like if we're want to make something happen, let's talk about it for a moment, sure, but let's actually put it in canon. I am also not against the community chats if we need to do higher level coordination, things like the communication devices that players in the Maximina event were using, or if you want to kind of like how some players would do to kind of like whisper to themselves. Like Andrew said, we cannot see that at all. But if you want to do like a community chat for that, we could do that as well. But also sometimes if we are both in an area where you are free to use trade chat or we are in a voice chat with each other, you can also do that with me. Because again, then when it comes to your character's thoughts and your, I'm pretty open about that. I also like.
I remember what I was going to say. Continue.
Okay. I also like to work with skills that your character has and their storyline backgrounds when it comes to things like roles. People do know me from my time playing that I like to get creative as well, and I always enjoy it when people try to get creative when it comes to solutions or trying to get something done. I'm not against that at all, but I will also say I will hold them to the standards of you need to be able to realistically achieve what you want with whatever you have on you or with the knowledge that your character possesses. And what the knowledge that your character possesses is either storyline, experience, and reputation that your character has involving whatever you want to do. And if you have the prerequisite skill in your skill tree learned, at least to level 1, I'm not going to be super strict about like, oh, it's got to be maxed out. They could give you bonuses for maxing out, sure, but like if you want to do something involving explosives, I would be like, do you have alchemy craft? You want to do something with swords, phantom swords, I would ask, do you have summon phantom swords? You want to do something with a Paragon, I'd be like, well, summon the Paragon. If you can't summon it, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? So just basic things like that. Again, clarity and information are important to me as a DM, so I will often ask for it more than one way, text and voice chat if applicable, to understand what a player is trying to achieve in a situation. I also like to use the I should remember this and this feels like progress prompts for specific purposes, and I usually try to hand them out immediately after whatever triggered them did so. Uh,
I
yeah.
I use the I should remember this
Hmm.
and the impression based
Hmm.
on the incomplete interaction, not a
Hmm.
specific thing they said.
Hmm.
So when
And
you're dealing with me, you gotta keep that in mind.
yeah, yeah. And again, if you ever have questions about that when we're in the middle of the session, I'm not against clarifying. Um, and I also like to say that the way I use characters that I play as, either NPCs or NPCs, I often view things from their point of view and their beliefs, if they have any, as a way of slowly revealing like the greater picture, like the points of view of a greater narrative. So do remember that what one NPC I'm currently role playing as believes is right may be but one piece of the puzzle. Like, don't, now more than ever, you shouldn't treat any NPC we are acting as an all knowing entity. They only have a piece of the puzzle, and it's up to you guys to either talk to more people or talk to other players to kind of like piece everything together. And I, as a DM, actively try to leave hints and clues as often as I can, and I can work with a character with roles to see if I can give them a little extra. But remember that an NPC you're talking to knows only what they know, and that is rarely the full picture. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of my playstyle.
Uh,
If you remember what you wanted to talk
I
about, Andrew.
remember what I was gonna say, which is I had situations where I ran two different campaigns at the same time, but the only way I do that, and I can do that, is when I'm using an SMPC. Because if you're running a campaign with an SMPC, I can watch that in one, and in the other, I can continue someone else's session and doing that. So I was able to do a little bit of that, which was pretty nice in some parts, in some moments a little slow with other people, but I have no problem doing those kinds of things. JJ. Oh, and Reborn Quest, all are gonna be done with me.
Um, I'm I'm not gonna mention how I'm gonna handle EXP or anything like that. Uh, I'm gonna mention one of the big things that I'm going to be changing moving forward from this point on. Uh, Obviously, I've had a lot of fun, and those of you who did your time, that sounds like a jail sentence, but those of you who did your time with me, I'm sticking to it, throughout the event, and know that I had a lot of fun with how I was managing the whole transition to DMs and all that stuff. And those of you who were basically sitting here with me throughout the whole day in Discord every single time also know that I both enjoyed setting up all the code and that I enjoyed all the dynamics that were being handled and managed throughout the event. But there is one thing that overall has a lot of room for improvement in how I was managing my sessions. There were several moments throughout the event where I did feel like I was spending way too much time running sessions, and I feel like a lot of those moments could have been chopped up into different types of sessions that I would run for people. And overall, in putting it all into a compact little explanation, I'm going to be taking a page out of another type of role playing game, and I'm going to be separating the way I handle campaigns in two types of sessions: those that will be considered transitions, and those that will be considered the actual missions. What I intend to do is that throughout the process of the transition sessions, I'll be doing the stuff that is very roleplay heavy, very figuring out what you're gonna do next, making your plan, shaping what you're gonna be doing as a character, and essentially the parts that are intended to be what you as the player want to take with you to the next session, to the next mission, to the next campaign, to your own personal story, to your own choice of milestones that you are setting for yourself as a character. That's where transitions are going to be heavy, and the sessions that are involving the missions are going to be executions of objectives, executions of running in your goals, executions of basically setting yourself up to go down the path of actually doing the task at hand. And one of the reasons why this has stuck in my head for a long time is because during my time away from DOTC, a player who was playing a D&D campaign of mine literally told me one day that I was canceling a session. Why don't we just have a session where we RP with each other? And I went like, but that won't lead to the greater part of the story. And his response to that statement was, even adventurers have normal days. And that stuck in my head so drilled deep inside that I ran the session and proceeded to incorporate it as part of the campaign 2 or 3 more times. So aside from that drastic and big change that I'm going to be doing in terms of how I was running compared to how I'll be running now, is that as Andy said earlier, I'm going to be using 3 particular keywords to let you, the player, know what I've called the perils, which is really just meaning the hazards that you will be facing. And those 3 keywords are basically going to be standard, where if you hear me say that about the mission you're about to go take on, it means that the biggest peril you'll face is losing your EXP. If you hear me say the word dangerous with an NPC, it means that there is a risk of injury throughout the mission. And if you hear me say the word lethal, you can die. With those things said, uh, this is more of a personal footnote that has nothing to do with the webcast, and I'm adding it because, drama. I really enjoy the transition. I really feel like this is part of what the OTC should have been for a long time. And I honestly have to say that even though not everyone was present during the event, I have not enjoyed doing anything for DOTC as much as I have throughout the last month. And that is something that I felt I had lost 5 to 6 years ago. So, anyways, now that I'm not crying, you are. Go on.
Um, yeah. Let's do the little giveaway. I'm looking at the people here, and the person who has won the giveaway and we're is gonna be receiving a free T-shirt is Barcius. So Barcius, talk to me after the webcast.
Verified relic.
Tell you how to get the T-shirt.
¿Quiere ahorrar más pero no quiere perderse el acceso premium? Suscríbase y ahorre le dará la oportunidad de ahorrar en puntos premium y de recompensa. La suscripción mensual con renovación automática le ahorrará un 17%. Use, suscribe and sabe, y ahorre más sobre los productos que necesita en DOTC. Use lo que ahorre para mantener feliz a su novia.
There was something actually, if you don't mind me cutting
If
in.
anyone has questions, now is the moment to answer. I'll answer one that was sent to me. Um, I will be handling Reborn Quest. And Reborn Quest, I mean the Discipline Masteries. You get the 250. Your passage through the gates of going back down to level 1 is doing a mission with me. I have already tested how I'm going to do it and did all that, and I have written down the Reborn missions of all the people who have already grabbed it. And I'll be doing that. We discussed in the last webcast how to get disciplines. I'll try to answer that real quick. I'm gonna be watching people while I'm doing my things if they're fighting with the discipline and they're actually doing what they need to. Every DM, every GM, every one of us is gonna be watching you, and we are gonna consult with each other if you get it or don't. And it's gonna be based on your progress about them. Each one of us have established our own rules on it, and we had discussed it last time, but we can discuss it at any other moment when someone wants to ask more about it. Anyone else has any questions they want to answer?
Yes. Not question to answer. Zombies fixed, guys.
Yeah,
No
we
more
tried
zombie
to do
glitch.
something, and it seems zombie is fixed, but we are not completely. I am not completely sure. Everyone else is. And I'm hoping it is fixed. So we gotta constantly.
500 out of 500 trials have proven that it is not appearing anymore.
Yes, yes, I know, but one still has that fear.
And they were actually
it's been a glitch for
counted
so long.
one by one.
It's been a glitch for so long. It's one that one feels. It's a trauma. It's a trauma. Anyone has questions too? Yeah.
Yeah. To add to the zombie thing, we are pretty enthusiastic that it appears to have been fixed. The only thing that still happens is that sometimes you go down, but the game doesn't show your character to be knocked out on the floor. But you have the respawn button, and you can't move or cast skills. So, and you can still be revived, or you can click on the respawn button. So that's the only thing that was reported to have found. But yeah, we are pretty optimistic that seems to be that we've fixed the zombie glitch, which is also why Master I said earlier that we're not against further down the line another Maximina type event, because the amount of live testing we can do is really good, and it helped us get to the bottom of a lot of things way faster than we normally would when we have to worry about things like the main storyline running and whatever happens having to be canon. Other than that, I do have a couple questions that have been sent my way. I got one here for like, what happens if a D goes down and people do not seal it and simply leave or log off? And I believe that's up to each DEM, but if you ask me, if I am down and I am allowed to live, I will get back up, I will consider myself to have escaped, and I will return myself not to maximum HP, but to the HP that I was at before the encounter.
So you're saying he got up and he walked away?
Yeah. I mean, I'll probably give myself a time to just sit there.
I agree. I would leave it at 32k HP.
Yeah, but I would probably wait. I give myself a timer.
Again?
And if nobody shows up,
623.
No, I will leave myself at whatever I was at the beginning of that session. If and that's my call. Again, each DM has their own decisions to make. But yeah, I'll probably like wait a certain amount of time, and if nobody's there, I'm gonna get up and I get away. There is.
I have one question that I was also sent.
Sure, I have another one
regarding one of the things I mentioned about me using SNPCs. Since we are on the topic, I was basically asked that if the person is playing a session with me and they need to be transferred to another DM to score the ceiling of a demon or the sealing of an SNPC, or killing another character that is not under my control. The question was basically, if I do this and then come back to you, would it affect my progress in the campaign? And my answer to that would be no. It will not affect the progress, particularly because if I send you to another DM, I am essentially concluding your session with me on the note of, yes, you have a target that you need to take care of. So you are going to do that, and then you're going to come back to me. In the sense, I'm essentially saying, I am sending you to a mission session with another DM, and when you come back to me, it's going to be a transition session that we will do at a later time, and or right after, depending on whether or not I'm up to it.
On the similar topic, I have one question of like how we talked about this a little bit already in the previous session, but just to kind of reiterate, plus something I didn't say back then. It's like, how are we gonna?
You mean Webcast?
Yeah. How will we handle credit for demon sealing? But again, the short answer, it depends on the DM. I will give a quick version of how I would do it. One person has to get the kill credit. We can't split it between people because for those who have been around longer, they know that when a demon comes back, they have a vendetta against the defender who took him out last time. So
Okay.
yeah, that's how I would do it. How I would do it is one person gets the credit, and it's whoever I feel as the character of the demon. Who would I have the vendetta against? That person gets the credit. The other person gets, or the other persons get secondary credit, and that's how I would do it.
Okay. Let's cut it off here because we're out of time.
Okay.
And now I was asked one last question, which I will answer, which is, will these have a larger vision? I'm using it. I'm gonna be using it, so I'm gonna use the vision I'm looking at. If I don't, I'm not gonna pay attention to me specifically. I'm not gonna pay attention to your name or your clan badge. I don't care about that. If I see something of your body, I will react to it. But if you write something by accidentally typing plus 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 plus, I will react to it. Their visions might be bigger because it's not gonna be the same thing. And thank you guys. Thanks for being here. We'll talk to you in another moment.
All right. Bye-bye.
Defenders of the Cross is a community game for role-playing. It uses a heavily modified version of open-source Rose Online. We invite you to visit us at defendersofthecross.com. Thank you for being here. We'll see you soon.